For day 4 of AFI, I'm going solo. So this is my POV of the day's events. Started my day at Win Dow for a classic burger and fries. Followed it up with a strawberry basil lemonade that I really enjoyed. Next was a red carpet event at the Chinese Theatre. You know, the one where they put their hands in the concrete. Red carpet, the whole thing. It's so ornate and beautiful on the inside. I haven't been in this theater in years. I was really excited to be back. My seats were a little far back and off to the right, but that's okay. Just look at how beautiful this theater is. The screening was for Dead Man's Wire.
Is this on air?
No, but it's being recorded. Talk to me.
I'm not a rich man. I'm a poor man. And that never bothered me. But these people betrayed me. These people that lure in common folk, give them a taste of the American dream, and then spit them right out.
I hear you, Tony.
I'm a man that's fighting for everything that he owns, sir. And I'm not going to be intimidated nor humiliated by anyone. I want a written agreement. I want my debt forgiven. I want an apology. And I want to walk out of here a free man.
It was followed by a Q&A with director Gus Van Sant. I apologize if the camera looks a little funky. I was zooming in on my phone. There might be some spoilers ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Join me in welcoming the incredible director of Dead Man's Wire, Gus Van Sant. Welcome back to the feature director's chair after 8 years. I mean, I know you did the series with Ryan Murphy, but yeah,
no, it was like we made a Gucci film, which was a feature length.
It's nice seeing a movie that sweeps you back to 1977, and then you go, oh no, wait, this could be 2025. Is that appealing to you about this material? Well, I mean, it's a story set in 1977, but everything about it speaks to what people are thinking about now.
Yeah, a year ago when we started the project, and this one year, things were shifted like Rubik's Cube, full colors. It's like the subjects in the film just align with what's going on.
Can you talk about how this project came to you?
Yeah, Cassian always was sitting at a table, and I walked by, and we said hello. We knew each other, hadn't seen each other for a long time, and he said, "Hey, I gotta call you. I'll call you later." And it was this project. He wanted a director, and he wanted to shoot it. This was September. He wanted to shoot it in November, and that kind of appealed to me, like the rush of the need of the rush to work. So that was one thing that was attractive.
So it's attractive, the idea that you could just jump into something and full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Having done all types of movies.
Probably, yeah. Maybe at the moment I was probably like looking for something that you could just do it like right away.
Yeah, so talk about Austin Kolodny's script. I mean, I think this is somebody who just got into Variety's top 10 screenwriters to watch. What appealed to you about his version of this story?
Well, I think the screenplay was definitely sort of like what you watch, as you watch this film. It was pretty much what I think I was imagining as I read it. But it was an incident that I had never heard of in the 70s when it happened, even though they interrupted broadcasting. Either I wasn't watching or didn't read about it the next day, or else it was relegated to the Midwest broadcasting, or I'm not sure. But the screenplay was written in a sort of, it was a digital copy, and it had internet addresses to go onto YouTube to hear or see the actual events. So as you were reading, you could hear the 911 call.
I've got a shot 12-gauge shotgun wrapped around a man's neck. I've got a dead man lying on the trigger.
Where are you at, sir? I'll send you some help.
By clicking on the script and like just going to the incident, which was kind of a new thing for me, reading screenplay, I mean, those things.
Did that inspire the fact that the movie does kind of like involve bits of archival, both recreated archive and real archive?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've done that before in other films, but it definitely got me into the story. So some of those archival pieces did end up in the film.
I mean, your filmography is an incredible kind of like a bunch of movies with a very offbeat empathy toward kind of outsiders and misfits. You know, all the way from My Own Private Idaho, all the way through to The Elephant and beyond. So I'm kind of wondering, where does Tony Curtis fit your pantheon?
Well, it seems, when it was done, it was sort of the closest to Drugstore Cowboy than the other films. So, true crime story.
You've made other true crime stories. What appeals to you about a real story of his deed?
I'm not sure I'm doing that. Coming up, I think, but I'm not sure. It seems like it's by chance, but I guess it must be like the underdog fighting his way.
So Bill Skarsgård, tell me about casting him, because to me, like, this movie is kind of like flowering of him as a great actor. I mean, because he's been great in these kind of fantastical stories where he's done up and he's playing a scary person or a vengeful creature. But here he really is to be kind of eccentric and human, and also kind of like, over the top he needs to be. Can you talk about him?
Yeah, I think just watching Bill in the stories, the few stories that I knew, some of them he had done that I hadn't seen yet when I first talked to him about it. But Boy Kills World was one, The Crow was another one. It, I think, was the first one that I saw that he was in. And yeah, then Nosferatu was a new one that I got to see right as we were sort of talking about working on this. And yeah, he was always choosing projects, and I'm not sure why, that were horror projects. There was one, Barbarian, where he played sort of an ordinary character, not a monster. The other ones were very extreme characters. Having worked with his father in Good Will Hunting, it was curious to see whether there would be similarities, because Stellan, his dad, was very up for almost anything that we were wanting to do. It was very adventurous. So I was assuming Bill would be as adventurous, which he was.
Did you say he wasn't, or
he was? Yeah.
He was, okay. Well, what kind of conversations did you have about Tony? Because this movie was for me surprisingly funny. I mean, for being as tense as it was, there were these moments of humor that are incredible and a lot have to do with Bill.
Yeah, Bill is very funny, and he would throw things in every now and then, but also the script is even though when I first read it, it wasn't something that I was laughing so much as intrigued, but Austin, I've since realized, works from comedy sometimes and has comedy projects that I hear about that he writes and directs. So there was definitely a comedy in the screenplay.
And then, are you also kind of like trying to manage like how much you want to be suspenseful and how much you want to be? Is that a delicate balance?
No, I think really the screenplay, one of the things about it was as soon as he took out the shotgun and wrapped it around his neck, and that you kind of felt tension the whole time. So it read like that. I was assuming that might be a tension-getting activity. And now that we've done it, I don't know, because I sort of wiped that out of my mind. So only the audience knows.
I think I gasped when he almost slipped in the street. I think I actually openly gasped. But then there's also the tension with David Montgomery in the apartment is also interesting because it's real in terms of the shotgun. There's also the tension of watching these two guys who you're really kind of hoping will find some weird common ground, even though it doesn't seem like it's likely, but you want them to. you guys talk about that with Bill and David?
Yeah, there wasn't any talk literally about the common ground that they were finding, but they were doing it on their own. Bill and Baker, in our rehearsal moments that we had, they were very experienced and very good actors. So they were naturally, sort of taking all these different turns that helped that sort of communication. And also the script was doing that. The common ground that the characters have in their ages and their relationship to.
Describe a day of working with Al Pacino.
It's Al Pacino, so it's like, he is so experienced that it was very easy and sort of because we had one day to do 4 scenes, it was, along with Kelly when she's here today, it was sort of roll it, that was a good take, and move on to the next, And he was just great.
Okay, so how many days to shoot this?
20. So, which was another challenge, is there was only 20 days, which was appealing, but dangerous.
Tell me your favorite problem-solving story from having a 20-day shoot.
I think, the real problems fell on the shoulders of all the different department heads, art department, costumes, all the different departments, makeup. They were the ones really sweating, and mostly because of money, which is the reason we had 20 days, was that it was a very low budget. It was constant. I didn't feel it really. I can go fast. So it was really the other departments.
So you had the muscle memory of making indies.
I had done a Ryan Murphy TV show just before, which was even faster. Kind of learned on that one.
Talk about working with your cinematographer, Arno Poitier, who does such a great job.
He had done a Korean project that had mixed temperature sensitive, either film or video, mixed with regular colors. With 2 cameras, he invented this rig which did that. So he was quite, unique, very specialized. The color that he was doing was always sort of an aim that he had from examples that we pulled from the 70s. And also the way that he timed it in the final timing of it. And the choice of using the period video cameras that he found a place that would rent them to us. The physical cinematography, aside from the look, was, I wanted him to kind of just go for it because of the time limit. I just said, just grab everything really fast and handle the cameras, and I wasn't giving too much guidance because of to see what would happen, because I could trust him. And I did have to get involved after the first couple of takes because I just couldn't help myself. But it was essentially we had maybe 5 cameras going, at least 3 usually, and not to save time, but just as a way to capture things that were going on. Yeah, I think every film for me is such a different opportunity to use things that you haven't used before, a different opportunity to try things out. So on this one for sure, every film I've done is kind of like that. But this one was also.
I'll say what, but is there anything you want to leave us with about the making of this?
I'm not sure, but this theater was where I saw Star Wars in 1977. They completely changed it, so it's like a Cinemax, IMAX theater, so it was flat and long.
Well, welcome back.
After Dead Man's Wire, I rushed over to see a screening of Lucky Lou.
Okay, so I'm trying this. I'm a features programmer with the festival, and you are at Lucky Lou.
谁呀？快点。
我叫 Queenie。
叫雅雅不好吗？
我们在美国，你要叫我的英文名字。
Queenie 我叫不习惯。
你是美国人呢，没有那么难吧？这里好多垃圾哦。
纽约就是这样。
好奇怪哦。
So before this, you've had a pretty accomplished career in short form filmmaking. You know, a lot of commercials, a couple award-winning shorts, including one that won awards here. What was the turning point for you when you're like, now I can make a feature? Whenever you said you had enough time or resources or material to do it?
Yeah, I mean, the two short films are basically the spirit of it are this film. So that was a great training ground to test some, aesthetics and visuals and story and character. But I remember just finishing those two short films and wanting more, and I felt there's so much more to tell and also prove to myself that I could do a feature, obviously. But yeah, they were birthed from just those two short films were that testing ground that gave me the confidence to make this.
But it can be such a hurdle in getting from short filmmaking to feature. I mean, just with the resources it takes. Was there something that changed in your career where you're like, now I can do this?
Yeah, I mean, feature is a different beast. It's truly a marathon. I wrote the script throughout 2022 and 3, and then the strike happened, so we were meant to shoot in 2023. And so I took a year off, basically, and when that ended in 2024, in May, which is only last year, which is kind of crazy, I met one of the producers, and she came on, and me and Yang Bon Jovi provided the financing very quickly, and that sort of snowballed the momentum, and we got our main actor, Cheng Chen, and we just wrapped this January, actually. So, we did post-production. To shout out, my incredible post team, Maxwell, Charles, we did, and the rest of the team is in Vancouver, but we did everything in 3 months, front to back, 3.5 months to premiere again. Yeah. And so that, I wasn't ready for, emotionally, physically, mentally, and that was a crazy sort of sprint to finish the film.
Yeah, I bet. So let's talk about the short film this seems the most starting from Same Old. What was the origin of Same Old, the idea that originally birthed that?
Yeah, we made that in 2021 and 2022. That came from just, COVID lockdown, ordering delivery food every single day and seeing these masked men, delivering and feeding me and feeding the city. And at that time, I don't know if you remember, but they were considered essential workers, with doctors and nurses, and I found it almost tragic, that these men, immigrants, undocumented or documented, they were, feeding many cities and risking their lives, and I just felt this deep connection and curiosity of what they're going through. So Tony, who's here, we basically went out and shot the short film over 5 days, and stole everything, basically no budget, and just went out and made it in one of the COVID waves. Mm-hmm. And that sort of opened the door to, we went to Cannes, did an incredible festival run, and that opened the door to a feature film after meeting some of the producers.
Mm-hmm. And then, so the adaptation process, building out that short into the feature you see now, because one of the striking things about the feature is the building blocks of how you pile it on poor Lou. And Lucky Lou is also poor Lou. I mean, it's a perfect example of make it worse screenwriting. The stakes just keep getting raised on him. So what was that process like, building out that story?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's an ironic but unironic title. I think there's that title was always there from the very beginning. But this sort of steps to build it out, and it's really hard to write any movie. And so I thought of it as almost like two halves, where you spend the first half with him, and then the second half is with his daughter and his family, and you kind of shift perspective. You shift a bit of even the musicality, which we talked about with Charles. It becomes a little more orchestral. It becomes a little more romantic, a bit more from the point of view of the daughter. And that came from my other short film, Closing Dynasty, which played here in 2023. And that idea sparked during the writing process, like I should connect these two films to make the feature. And that's sort of how it came about.
So I feel like an obvious touchstone is Bicycle Thieves. What about Man Push Cart? That was the first film I thought of when I saw this. Ramin Barani's film.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, definitely Bicycle Thieves, which, any bike movie will be Bicycle Thieves. But I actually haven't watched it for, over a decade, and so I wanted to go in not rewatching, just like remember the emotional feeling of it, and definitely an inspiration. Man Push Cart for sure, maybe spiritually. Actually, for me, it was more Dardenne Brothers, sort of the working class, Ken Loach, the working class sort of brass tacks filmmaking, where you just follow someone over a day or two as they figure something out. That's the sort of storytelling that inspired this film.
You really didn't rewatch Bicycle Thieves?
No. And I didn't watch anything with the bicycle for a long
Really? Even with that restaurant scene, did you remember the restaurant scene for Bicycle Thieves, or just happened to have
I refused. It was an exercise to obviously deeply inspiring me in my brain, but and subconsciously, but I didn't want to be affected by.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. You really did your best to not lean into it, to lean away.
Yeah, I watched nothing basically after a year.
Yeah, like that. So, I mean, one of the amazing things about this film is the on-street photography. How did you have the permits? Were you doing guerrilla filmmaking? How were you getting these shots out there in New York?
I don't know how much I can say. It was important to be just to insert ourselves into the streets of New York. We can't afford those extras, obviously, so we did our best to be small, but we were, a union crew, and so, they're the incredible crew, so we would tell everyone, it's gonna be me, Norm the DP, the actor, and the AD, we're just gonna go, wander off. And then you look back and they're just 10 feet behind you. They want to help out so bad. And so we just became this big unit moving around New York City. But I guess a big thing for me was worrying about our main actor, Chang Chen, who's a notable actor in Asia and very handsome guy. And so so handsome. So I remember him walking into the production office, and he had this Japanese baggy pants and incredible haircut. And I'm no, we have to transform this guy. And that I wanted to make sure he blended into the city. And so it was a process of just bringing him down to become sort of every man, every father. And so that was a big process. Over a few days of just cutting his hair and getting the right wardrobe, which we went through. Poor Vera, our wardrobe styles, we went through so many different looks to get that, simple black jacket and blue jeans. So simple, but it really had to be the right texture and the right sheen and the right shape. And so that was a long process. And there's one story I love where, there's the scene at the beginning when he's running. He just lost his bike. He's running to deliver that final delivery, and he's running across the street. We're across, filming with a long lens, and another delivery driver stopped him to ask him if he was okay, not knowing we were filming. And it was a sort of a beautiful moment where, a stranger just, and someone from this community, and not realizing he's Chen Chen, and so we knew in that moment, he's fine, he's blending in. That's great. Yeah.
That's great. I want to open it up to the audience in a moment, but I just want to ask, where do we leave Lou in that moment at the window?
I want people to decide on their own, but I do hope for me, he understands that maybe he is in fact lucky.
Yeah. He gets a moment of sunlight. Reefus twins. Yeah. Really, just Reefus cracked window.
Yeah.
So let's take some audience questions. After you ask your question, I'm going to repeat it into the microphone to make sure everybody hears.
I just a comment really. The girl Yaya, she was incredible in it. I mean, how did you discover her?
How did you discover the girl Yaya?
We spent like 3-4 months casting in the major cities, and it was a smaller casting pool because we needed someone fluent in Mandarin, who's 6, 7, 8 years old, who had sort of the stature to be small on screen, and so it was a long process. But so I went to LA, I scouted in New York, but she came in quite early actually, and she's a New York-based kid, and I kept. She's never acted before. She's never been on set before. And so it was a big risk going with her, but there's something I was drawn by the way she looks at people. And so I did like 5 callbacks with her and we even went out on the street and did some test scenes. And so we put her through the paces, but I don't know, there was like another couple actors who were like really experienced. There's 7 and they had like 40 feature film credits, and they can cry command, they do everything perfectly and hit marks. And Carabelle Way, who's like, she was incredible. Like, she kind of blew us all away, where she's so professional and just so naturally talented.
Yeah, I thought the scene when she had the Polaroids on the table and then changed the story was brilliant. And it's such a childlike thing to do, but that was written, I assume. It wasn't spontaneous.
Yeah, that's just me being childish.
But it was great, and she really put that across in such a convincing way. So that's great.
Yeah, that was probably like, take 2. And she didn't need that many takes.
That's brilliant.
For you?
I've got a question about the cinematography. So the cinematography is really closed in and anxious. I was wondering how you got the idea for the cinematography being that closed in and anxiety inducing.
Questions about the idea for the cinematography be close in and anxiety inducing.
Yeah, I think for Norm Lee and I, it was sort of our thesis to never romanticize New York, see kind of how we see it and on the ground, and we avoided every single landmark. If there's a landmark in the distance, I don't want to shoot that way. So that was a big thing from the beginning, is to avoid sort of what I typically see in New York movies. And the closed-inness is again just feeling the intimacy of that character and being with that person on this journey.
Yeah, I did notice the lack of landmarks too. That was a really good idea. Yeah, it makes it feel a lot more natural for just an everyday person in New York.
Any questions? Up there?
I wanted to ask about location scouting. How long did that take? Just talk about that.
Question concerns location scouting.
Yeah, I mean, we had the most incredible locations team. We did 50 locations in 22 days. So it was like a flurry of just moving around, and things were falling through, so they would find things the next day, and those are all real locations. So the gambling den is real, those apartments are real, everything's real. There's no no fakery there, and so we scouted for probably, Norm and I would actually go on our little walks and just eat and wander around and look indoors and kind of sneak into places. So we did some early scouting just by ourselves, and then probably a month of real scouting. And we had the Queen of Chinatown, Ginny. So if you ever shoot in New York, hire Ginny. And she just unlocked all these doors. Every single person that saw her come in, they're so excited to see Ginny because she's gonna bring film. And so she was so kind and spoke so many dialects and was part of the community. And that's kind of how we approached every location was we're not exploiting it, we're just kind of honoring it and doing it right.
So did settings that you found change settings that were in the script? Did you have a laundromat, a nail salon, hairdresser. Do you have all those already in scope, or did you find these locations and sort of work them in?
I think probably a couple changed. I can't remember exactly, but I'm sure a couple changed when I walked in. Like, oh my god, this is amazing. I did a film here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right here.
I'm curious about that shot, the long shot of him riding the bike on an empty street, and just how you were able to get the streets that empty. It was on the earlier end of the.
When he's delivering food?
It was after. It was when he stole the first bike. After he'd gotten it, he was riding it, and it was just this like at least 10-second shot of just the streets completely empty.
And the question is how Lloyd and team were able to get deserted streets in New York for a shot.
You wake up at 2 in the morning and shoot it at 3:30. That was our last day of shooting, day 22, and yeah, there was a snowstorm coming, so we had to shift everything earlier. Thank God we did, and so we shot all the biking stuff in like 4 hours. Every biking shot, just we had to get it done real quickly, and then yeah, we avoided the snowstorm by like minutes.
Oh, so you did every biking shot of the film sort of in one go?
Yeah, in one pass.
I have one more question. Well, actually, it's about the score, but we know Charles. It's beautiful. I mean, it avoids every cliche. So, what was the brief you gave to him?
What was your brief to the composer on?
I don't remember. I remember saying, I mean, it was a big thing to not be cliche. I mean, you can easily go jazzy, you can easily go percussive, you can easily do the things that you expect this movie to be. I definitely, I mean, this sounds so terrible, but like, I want this to be something you just hum after the movie. And I mean, some of my favorite movies have those iconic scores you just want to listen to again and can carry that emotion. So, I mean, it was just not an easy brief. He's like, okay, cool. Yeah, and it was, I mean, he did it in weeks. It's crazy. He did it so quickly. And we did actually a lot of, and this is a credit to Charles actually, we did so many versions of the bus scene. I don't know, that bus shot, and then that music comes in, the first like, real orchestral piece. It's my favorite track in the whole movie. And I remember he gave me, I don't know, like 8 to 10 different variations. I can't remember. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. Because then I passed on all of them, and I think he came back and said, "You should try this one again. This is number 2 that I gave you." And then I'm like, "Oh, this works actually." and it's like, you know, credit to Charles. He just knew. Sometimes when you're in the edit, you have no idea what's working, and he definitely knew.
That was an incredibly touching film. Lloyd, I'm not sure if you're the right person to ask, but if I wanted to bring my father to see it, when and where would this be available?
When and where might the film be available for others to see?
Yeah, I mean, we're still looking for, you know, distribution in the U.S. So hopefully, yeah, aiming for early next year. We'll see.
Check local festival schedules until then.
Congratulations on the films again. I also was telling my friend that I think it will be a great like Father's Day film in general. But I was wondering, Yaya had a lot of lines where she keeps saying, I don't know. That's super realistic because I have a daughter myself. Whenever I ask her, what did you learn today? What do you want to do? She's always saying, I don't know. Like, did you improvise that based on working with a child? Or did you come up with lines like that? And how did you come up with lines where, what Yaya would be saying in the emotional scenes?
Yeah, working with Yaya, how did you balance like her naturalism versus your sort of written idea of what she would be saying?
I think that was in the script a little bit. I'm sure she added a few of those extra little bits. Yeah, I mean, we did a bit of improv before we shot. You know, I wanted to bring her natural, you know, cadence and the way she spoke and even her personality. So there were some scenes that we tweaked. I tweaked, like, you know, the night before shooting, and just to bring her natural state of being. I think if she tried to act, you know, this is like who she is, really. This is this is Caravel. I think it would just feel a bit forced as someone who hadn't really acted before. So I kind of embraced who she was, and yeah, let her be her.
Up there.
Great, congratulations. I have a question that sort of started in thinking about the edit and wanting to know about your process there and finding your pacing, and were there any surprises or problems that you had to solve in the edit, and how did you navigate through that? And then kind of part B of that question is, starting with the script as a, as your projection of what you thought this would be, is it what you expected, or is it different at all, or were there any surprises?
Yeah, so the question is about navigating the edit, finding your pacing, and then how did the final product, how does it stack up against what you auditioned in the script process?
Yeah, the edit was the hardest part of the process. I was so excited to finish production, and then I thought in my head, I'm going to relax and just hang the edit for 8 hours a day. It's the hardest part by far. I don't think we had to figure out too much. It was really, this is sort of what the script is. We cut maybe one full scene out that we realized kind of pushed him over the edge morally in the first half. And so for me, the film is like structured first half, second half, before Queenie has come. That's really, and pacing wise, there's a different cadence, there's a different sort of rhythm to the first half. It's a bit cuttier, or it's a little harsher in our cuts, and so that was very conscious going in, and we kind of knew that going in, which helped a lot. In the second half, it's a bit more lyrical and a little slower. So yeah, that was something that was pre-planned. But in terms of what we discovered, I discovered in writing when I was editing is that you don't really need much. You don't really need that many lines to get something across. And so we cut a few lines here and there. But the big one was taking a full scene out, which is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And it was in the first half where we just overstepped a little bit with somebody, and that shifted our perspective of the character that was unforgivable. Yeah.
Did you feel that on set at all when you were shooting it, or was it really like upon watching it or late in the edit process even, about that one scene?
Did you discover that this scene crossed the line?
Definitely not in the shoot. We're just trying to survive. But the edit, yeah, you have that perspective, and we were still also rushing to hit a deadline, so it was a little frantic as well. But it was through just a round of feedback with really good people, the producers, your friends, and it was actually Forrest Whitaker, who's a producer on this film. He just watched it once and probably gave the biggest note, and it was just this amazing note where he's like, I think you should maybe remove that scene, and okay, that's right. And he just explained why, and it just made so much sense, and we did it, and I sat with it for a week, and it was totally right.
Would you be willing to tell us what would be crossing the line for Lou? Like, what doesn't jive with the character that he is? Because, what we see in the film is who he is. So, like, what wouldn't he do?
I'll never say.
Here in the center.
This is Harley, by the way, who's one of our actors in the film.
My question is, as we know, you're not speaking Chinese. So, but how did you get the confidence to film a mostly Chinese-speaking film, and how can you trust your cast?
How did you get the confidence to make a mostly Chinese language film? And have the confidence to trust your cast?
Yeah, I don't speak Mandarin. I hire really good actors. I really do. That was a big thing, was hiring people I could just lean on. And I would just obviously memorize the script and I know what, every line, what they're saying, every actor's saying in that moment in time, and you just feel it. But also, rely, there are moments where I think we change the script on the day, right? And even you would say, I think I would say it like this, Chen would say, I would say it like this. And I trust the actors to do that.
So were the actors actively doing the translation, or did you have the script translated for them beforehand?
We had an amazing translator, Lily Dow, who did a lot of work with me beforehand, a lot of scene work, and also working with the actors in conjunction all together. Yeah, so there's a lot of sort of like group think there.
I think we have time for just one more question.
I was curious how you were working with the actor John Chen, because I'm not sure if he has like immigration background, but he portrays this character really, really well. So I was wondering what was the director-actor communication?
The questions about working with Chinese Chen for this particular role?
I mean, he's a legend. I grew up watching him. I mean, he's, you know, I remember I was quite nervous working with him because, you know, he's a legend who's worked with some of the best directors, and this is my first feature, and so he came in and almost like helped guide me, like ease me a little bit in the prep process. I remember there was a moment he said, "I trust you," and that was a big moment for me. And so yeah, in terms of like directing him, I mean, you just kind of let him be. There's obviously little nudges I would give him where maybe you go too far or not enough. And that's really, I mean, that's my dream working with a great actor. You just nudge and you don't really try to, change too much. And he just surprised us every single day. And, you know, it's so easy working with him. He came up with Wong Kar-wai, Edward Yang, and so his sense of blocking his space, like he would look at the lens and say, oh, you're shooting at 50. So he knows exactly where to look, how to move his face. And so for me, that's the dream that made my job so easy.
But thanks so much for showing your film.
That was AFI Fest Day 4. Thanks for joining me.